Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
We're good? Yeah. Well, welcome back. After I think it's under a year, but not that much under a year, to Rahway, New Jersey. And now every time I come to Rahway, New Jersey, I have one thing that I have to do, and that's sit down in front of a group of people with my good friend, Cody.
Just Cody.
Welcome.
Just Cody. It's weird that you say just Cody because so much has changed in a short span of time. Don't you currently, I think you work for WWE now, right?
I do.
I
work with WWE.
What is the relationship? What is the nature of the relationship?
You guys didn't realize you actually signed up for a Cody Rhodes podcast with special guest Sam Roberts.
Yeah, what is the nature of the relationship? Tell me what you're doing.
I host some of the Peter Rosenberg and I host the pay-per-view pre-shows, kickoff shows for WWE.
I got a good Peter Rosenberg story.
Hit me with it.
So, I made a habit of doing Stardust interviews as Stardust.
Oh, I remember.
One thing that Sam is very good at, and you always make it about your guest. I'm sure you have an ego to some degree, because when I got here, he gave me the time.
We were supposed to be here 15 minutes ago.
Right. You have probably a bit of an ego, and maybe it's well deserved.
Right.
So I'm not saying Peter Rosenberg has an ego, and I'm not even going to say that they're the name of their podcast, because I had a lovely interview with them.
Right.
However, they were grossly offended that Stardust asked them what their names were. Grossly offended.
Because Stardust should know. That Stardust is doing one of the big interviews.
I thought, because Joe Villa runs PR for WWE. Joe Villa, I feel like he's responsible for you climbing the ladder to when you eventually are running NXT or whatever's next for you.
Right.
We'll thank Joe Villa.
Absolutely. Very much so.
Peter Rosenberg, I think's ego was offended. Because
Stardust didn't know who he was?
because I followed them both on Twitter. No follow came after that, and I thought we had this lovely chat.
Wow.
And they just were grossly offended because when I said as Stardust, I don't even remember. What's your name or whatever. The dude legit, and then he looked like if Pat was Joe Villa, then he looked and did this, and I thought oh, this is going off the rails.
Right.
Do
you especially when you're doing
sorry,
the Stardust
Peter
character,
Rosenberg. It was Stardust.
But do you like that when you realize this is not going the way the interview intended? Like Paul Heyman, for instance.
Yes.
He would make an effort to figure out what me or any other interviewer, if he could figure out what the plan for the interview was, his immediate effort would be to throw it off the rails.
Oh yeah, thrives.
Yeah, he
in
loves
the chaos. After doing probably 15 to 20 interviews that morning, I just wanted it to be over. And they have one of the more popular, at the time, podcasts. I'm not sure what it is, but they had a very popular. They were literally sitting high up, and Joe had been giving them the A treatment. Maybe they just didn't want to interview Stardust, but the opening of the interview, you can feel a palpable, tangible tension. Almost.
That's great.
And then but you know what? Total pros. They went through with it.
Well,
I apologize to Peter Rosenberg and the the other guy.
Let's get that out there.
The other guy.
By the way, you've upset the other guy now.
I apologize.
You still don't know his name.
We can in post. We'll put it. We'll put it in there.
We'll figure it out. But that's what Peter Rosenberg and I, we go back and forth hosting the kickoff shows.
Good for you
WWE
guys.
Pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And they still, but I mean, we still do our own thing. They don't have their hands in anything.
Were you shocked when your check wasn't for $1 million? How
do you know it wasn't for $1 million?
I feel like you guys were expecting a check for $1 million.
I have good representation. Maybe my check was for $1 million minus 20%, $800,000.
800 grand.
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't know what I'm getting.
You're
paid
killing
over
it.
there.
Good.
In fact, I'm offended.
You're getting that legacy money. No, I just was curious how you felt.
No, I feel good.
It wasn't $1 million.
You don't know.
Is there an action figure on the way?
I hope. I haven't been scanned yet.
Oh, everybody gets scanned.
Is that right?
Oh my! Justin Roberts would get scanned. Everybody gets scanned.
And so would a guy like?
If you didn't get scanned,
it's really not good. You don't rank.
You're off to a rough start. Yeah.
Would guys get scammed thinking that they were getting action figures,
Yep.
and you would
Oh,
know,
yeah.
like, no.
What is it now? 2K.
2K. does the
2K
video
when they film you like the first time with the bazillion cameras and you're in the room, it's a really cool experience. Every time after that, it's unnecessary. They already
have your
They already
body.
have this,
Right.
And you can tell the difference between like Apollo Crews warming up, so excited about to, and then you can like see someone else just kicking their feet in the corner. Yeah, no, that's a cool moment though. You're immortal.
Which is why
that.
if you use Cody Rhodes in any video game except for the first one he was in, the character just comes across as
Same.
lazy and doesn't want to be there.
Whoever did my mocap, so most of the mocap guys are pretty well known because it's the same crew of guys that always goes and does mocap because it's great money for them.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever did my mocap watched Stardust's very first entrance
Mm-hmm.
and nothing else because I never did half the stuff ever again. And it was funny to watch, like, hey, well, you know, that's what they use.
It
so.
all gets in there.
Yeah.
Like
Shane McMahon did his own mocap. Did you guys know that?
No, what do you mean?
Went and did his own mocap. Didn't want somebody doing his moves.
So
Shane did his own mocap.
Generally, when they're doing video games, you do like the stuff that's yours, but in terms of doing the moves, they have a person that goes in and does the moves.
Yeah, they get some really talented folks, and they're literally those guys are. They make sure they get their mocap. They get some very talented folks who know how to do almost everybody's stuff.
Gotcha.
And properly.
Gotcha.
And they execute it, and they got all the dots on them, and they
Right.
film it. But Shane put the dots on himself, on his sneaks and everything, and did all his own stuff, apparently.
Just because he's a
He's
perfectionist?
Shane McMahon.
It's the man.
Just the man, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, so you've now, in the time since we last spoke, when we last spoke, it was still about, you know, the list and are you really not in WWE anymore? And
Yeah,
this
yeah.
can't be true. And this is so weird that this is happening.
I'm not.
And yeah, well, we figured it out by now.
Yeah.
We're now at the point where you're a legitimate journeyman wrestler. I feel like you've transferred over into that territory. Would you not say that that's a fair statement?
Well, this is a loaded question because I don't want a year from now the answer then to change again. Where I mean, I feel like I'm just the same. If that makes any sense. Journeyman wrestler kind of denotes like there's a lot of bad journeyman wrestlers, right, Pat? Can you think of somebody like a real bad? Oh, he's. There was a lot in OVW. There was a lot of like journeyman wrestlers who came through. I don't want to be put it somewhat other way.
Well, because you're more than an independent wrestler, right?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm an independent wrestler.
So if I said you're now officially an independent
yeah,
wrestler,
the
that
highest paid independent wrestler
that's
of
what I
all
was-
time.
That's what I was going to ask you because when we talked what last time you were in Rahway probably, you said that the one thing that you wanted to do was wrestle at a really bad indie show.
Oh,
Have you gotten to do that, or have you priced yourself out?
I had one very bad experience. One. I'm glad you asked.
No, thank
but
you.
It's kind of a can of worms. I had one bad experience, but it was not crowd or match-wise. They had a record crowd, and I got to wrestle with Donovan Dijak, who's, you know, if you've seen Donovan Dijak, he's absurdly good.
Sure.
So the match, super happy with it.
So it wasn't one of these things where the ring's falling apart or there's 20 people in the audience.
I'll tell the story without naming the promotion.
Okay, that's
is that
fair.
is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Long story short, there was a promotion in Connecticut that
WWE.
It wasn't.
I figured it out.
Yes, I did.
I knew it.
That they had scheduled me to wrestle Dijak, and they had it on the books for months, and I never heard of them. And even with doing my homework, they hadn't done a lot of events. It was a younger individual who was running this company.
So you were never, and I don't mean to interrupt the story, but you're not like discerning about what companies you work for.
No.
If you can pay the money and my weekend's free.
It's less about the money and more about the opponent.
Gotcha.
You know what I'd like?
Gotcha.
Like that's why there's no true rate to any of this. Like if the opponent's somebody like, oh my gosh, like Matt Cross, for example. I just wanted to wrestle Matt Cross so bad that I think I did it for free. I don't know. I probably didn't. But anyways, this guy.
Yeah,
this guy's got me. He's got me with Dijak. Dijak and I have worked like didn't plan on it, but we ended up working at Ring of Honor. We had a couple matches prior to this already, And this is months out. I got contacted to go back on the set of Arrow just to film an episode that aired a few weeks ago. So this is months out. I want to give them a heads up. I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm thinking there's almost no way that I'm going to make this guy's show. Almost no way. Let's contact him. Let's find a suitable replacement. Let's do all that. And the next bit of correspondence was this gentleman asking me about a sponsor dinner, meaning he had booked a bar and grill saying that I was going to be there, and it was going to be like a post-show party. Like everyone tonight from Wrestle Pro, if we went to some spot and had like a post-Wrestle Pro event. He told me the event kind of hinges upon me being there. And I was very forthcoming, like, hey, it's unlikely I'm going to even make the show in the first place, but we're doing everything we can to get there, so I don't know if I'll be able to do the dinner. But
you're certainly not going to the post-show dinner if you don't make the show.
If I don't make the show.
Any sense.
So that's the last bit of correspondence we ever had. The rest of it was through, my manager and him, which sounds so snooty, but that's who the correspondence was between. And it got to the point where I had to take a flight from Vancouver, the very first flight from Vancouver in the morning, to Hartford, and I was going to be getting there 30 minutes before the show actually started.
The plane lands 30 minutes?
30 minutes before the show actually started. So not the end of the world. If we were going on later in the night, so not the end of the world. We can get something going. It's going to work. Had there been a single travel woe, wouldn't have made it. He's aware of all of this. I still am on the set of Arrow at 4 a.m. the night before, laying on a rooftop in a cold like pool of rainwater with the character Diggle just pointing a fake gun at me, and they're just filming the same thing over and over again. And I'm not saying anything or really needed, but I'm there.
Right.
And as the time is going by, I'm like, there's no way. This is no way. It's 4. I should be at the airport already because it's 2 hours. Give myself for customs. I'm in Canada.
Yeah, Vancouver, Canada. So it's going to be even more complicated to actually get on the plane.
So the Arrow people, super accommodating, put me in a van, change of clothes, all this. I mean, just brilliant.
Which, by the way, is balls to even tell the Arrow people that you're in a hurry, because most people in your position are like, look, I can do indie shows every weekend.
I'm a glorified extra on the show, asking for my own ride to the, but they took care of me great. I make the first flight. I go through customs, and I barely make the second flight. I'm so nervous because I don't know when we're on, that I have a suit on, just like now, and my tights on underneath it, because I was convinced, like this guy's not communicating with me. I'm not going to get the car, whatever. Long story short, sorry, this is
good.
This you had to know everything that led into it.
Yes.
I decided, you know what? I made it. Great. I got time to talk to Dijak. Let's go balls to the wall. Let's just burn this thing down. I have no sleep, but who cares? I get through this, can sleep all night. No big deal. I thought
we had that feeling of accomplishment. Like they said that wasn't going to happen, and
I
did
it
happen. I'm Cody.
So we get through the match. I finish. The people seem really happy. He told me it was their record crowd. I felt super sense of accomplishment. Afterwards, he says to me, so are you still good for that dinner? And I said, honestly, I haven't slept. I think I'm just going to hit the hay. And this is when it came. My first bad experience is in this one phrase.
Which, by the way, before we even get to the phrase, you're still, half of your brain is still in that puddle in Vancouver because no time has passed because you haven't slept.
And Dijak beat the tar out of me, like just on everything.
So you're maybe your most irritable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I said, no, I'm probably going to sleep. And he looked at me and said, well, do you want to get paid?
Which is so carny indie wrestling.
I didn't know what to do.
Right.
Like, a part of me wanted to move my hand on but this is capital murder.
Right.
This is and everyone's looking.
By the way, just you putting your hand on my neck, you could have done a lot of
damage. I didn't know what to do. So I did the most
cowardly
thing ever. I popped out, literally looked at him and just walked into the other room. And I texted my wife, what do I do?
Right.
And Brandy's super circle the wagons. Let's beat him. Pretty,
So this is
so
the cooler heads prevailed.
She's not helpful in this in this regards. And then I came back in, and I think I told him I didn't even want any of his money. I said, I'm going to sign some of these 8x10s for these gentlemen at the restaurant if it really was me that it hinged upon, and I'm going to go. And my driver, he took me to the hotel. Halfway on the way to the hotel, I said, you know what? We're going to go to that dinner. We're going to go to that dinner. So we turn around, go to the dinner. No one has any interest that I'm there at all. The guy at the front door cards me when I get in, marks my hand and everything. Okay, cool. I got to eat. I'll go sit down. I sit down with some of the people who I thought were at the show. I start to eat. That guy who had just threatened to not pay me walks in and standing ovation.
Oh, of course.
From his his minions.
Because it's his sponsor.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And at that point, I just got up and left. And
you never got paid.
I didn't want to get paid.
Right.
I might have gotten paid, and the old shyster manager might have kept it, but I didn't want to be attached to it in the slightest.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like he threatened to not pay you if you didn't show up to this dinner,
Yeah.
which was really just about him.
Sorry for such a long journey I've taken you on. It was the only bad experience I had. And there's a second part where a referee said to me right after he heard the initial, do you want to get paid? This random referee who seemed really nice up to that point looked at me and goes, hey, man, you can't blow him off like that. Last guy who did that was Kevin Nash. And I'm thinking, I didn't blow him off. Like, I didn't know. And like his whole crew's just staring at me. It was just a terrible experience. Terrible.
So that was the last time you worked for that promotion, I would think.
I don't think it's around anymore.
Probably done.
I don't think. But on the scale of like, that was the one bad experience I had in this entire year. One bad experience.
Was there something romantic about it though? Because you had your Carney Indy experience.
No, it wasn't romantic at all.
You didn't like it.
No,
You hated it.
no.
Yeah, okay.
It felt terrible.
Well, I'm sorry to hear
Yeah,
that.
it
I
felt
don't like
terrible.
to hear you feel terrible.
Yeah.
Comedians like who are super famous, like Ricky Gervais and Jerry Seinfeld, they've said that when you have that kind of fame, you can get on stage and the audience gives you a 5-minute grace period, but then it's still just your performance. Like you can't do a 60-minute set and just have it be like I get laughs because I'm famous. Like you get 5 minutes,
Sure.
and then it's going to be your performance. Now that you've had a year, have the reactions changed? Has that sort of like, we're here to see the guy from TV, since you're not really the guy from TV anymore, unless it's TNA, which that would, no offense to you,
Our Ring of Honor,
a smaller amount of
yeah,
people.
sure.
Does that reaction change? Do you feel like you have to do more to get the reaction, or was that never in your head?
I don't think I've gotten ever the 5-minute grace period.
So you haven't even gotten the 5?
Yeah, maybe because I've been really fortunate to be on last and to be the main event of some of these shows and been lucky to be in that position. And by that point in the night, they're not interested in giving anybody a 5-minute grace period. They're ready. They're ready for their main event. So you have to get and go. It's cool because there's an American Nightmare shirt in the room right now. I don't know why the snowball has gotten kind of bigger. I guess that's how it works, right? It rolls down the hill.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it all to be like, okay, move on.
We've seen him.
Yeah, and it's just been I don't know. Maybe it's being around the Bucks and seeing what they're doing, but this is like, it's going backwards. I just found out that my merchandise is going to be on normal retail shelves with the Hot Topic deal.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they'll be next to WWE merchandise.
Like you'll be able to.
Yeah.
Did you think a year ago that you would sign a deal that you can go to a mall and buy a Cody Rhodes T-shirt?
I know, and
it's crazy.
And it's really, I'm very, 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 very lucky for how it's gone, and I'm lucky the time period that I chose to split, because now you can watch Evolve on FlowSlam. You can watch New Japan on New Japan World. Every promotion's really good about getting its audience, hey, here's where you can see what we do. So that's, the era of TV is slowly dying. It's not, but we're in it. It's slowly going away.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think that more and more promoters, I even think the WWE has realized that there is this sort of thing when there are certain people that it makes sense to not put those exclusivity restraints on. That, like,
I hate that word.
Exclusivity or
hate
restraints?
It. Exclusivity.
Why do you hate it?
No one should be exclusive anywhere.
Right.
I mean, you're exclusive to WWE, right?
Well, I'm in a room with you. I mean, that says a lot to WWE's credit, doesn't it?
I hope they have you back for the next.
You think this could be it?
Did you already get your travel and everything?
But even on like the UK tournament, for example, like they've got a whole crop of UK guys that they're doing the WWE UK stuff,
Sure.
but then they're also in the UK doing Progress and all those other promotions.
Yeah.
You know, and you're able to do Ring of Honor and TNA and Indies and everything that you want to do. And I think that guys like you, and you're one of the first to do it, have showed people that actually letting you do more has increased your value to every promotion that you're doing, right?
I think we kind of are in a time period where talent, and this isn't a gender specific thing, it's more a metaphor.
Jinder Mahal?
Not gender, no, not Jinder Mahal, but what
incredible, huh?
Somebody. So I try to kind of live under a rock when it comes to the WWE, but you can't avoid seeing your Twitter feed and people talking about Jinder Mahal wrestling Randy Orton at a pay-per-view.
Which is
what a turnaround for
Jinder. For the title. Main eventing for the title.
I hope he wins.
I hope they're saying it's possible.
What a wow.
But that's also the ultimate.
What a world we live in.
That's the ultimate argument to the Cody Rhodes of the world, that we're like, it's obvious you guys aren't going to do anything with me. Yeah, well, that's what Jinder said. And look at that.
Yeah, no, maybe I should have stayed around for 5 more minutes.
He's
no.
like the
Jinder,
one guy
man.
out of everybody.
He's jacked too.
He looks amazing.
Great
0%
shape.
Body fat.
0.
It looks like 0 to me.
Whew.
And I've analyzed that physique.
Yeah, you're going to be talking about this.
I will. I talk about it right now. I talk about it every week.
If you can plug that. I'm going for Jinder in this thing.
All right,
yeah.
good.
It's for everybody out there. I mean, he got canned. Welcome back with probably no promise of anything except enhancing up and coming NXT guys, and now he's
the guy.
He's in the main
He's about to be that guy.
Good for Jinder.
And it's good for you to cheer for Jinder. Randy Orton is a guy that you spent a lot of your career with.
I love Randy.
Right.
What a mess he got himself into.
How so?
Why?
What do you mean?
The whole why the discussion even began? The dive headlock.
Oh yeah.
Like why did it even begin?
That he took up. Well, I guess Rip Rogers, I think, started it.
Oh.
And he was kind of criticizing the way that the young guys, the indie guys, the flippy floppy guys as they're known, get their crowd reactions and all that. Which, to me, it felt like an older guy who maybe didn't understand what young people were.
What's going on today.
Right, which happens in literally every single industry. And then Randy Orton decided to take Rip's side on it, I guess, and say,
Rip helped train Randy, and there's probably some a personal connection there. I think, like with Cornette and Rip, because I actually, Rip Rogers blocked me.
On Twitter?
On Twitter. And I have no knowledge of why. I think he got tired of seeing like Joey Ryan and I clips or something, or pictures of me, and I don't know, but no idea why. I like Rip's thought process around wrestling. I like Cornette's thought process around wrestling.
Right.
But I always look at it 2 different ways. There's a wrestling thought process, and then there's a promoter thought process. And promoters, the main goal here for these shows is to get as many people. And if that's offering them a wide variety of not just one standard set of wrestling psychology, that's what you have to do. Mm-hmm. Joey Ryan, the wrestling that Joey does is offensive to me. I have, however, wrestled him twice and loved the matches and loved the challenge.
But you're offended by the things that he does, the penis plex.
Intergender wrestling offends me. However, if somebody was to, I don't know if I would say no, because that's the challenge. You can't just be stuck in one mindset. If you're a promoter, and I guess as much as an independent wrestler, I also like to consider myself a promoter. I promote myself.
Right.
Where I'm going, I want to promote myself. So I don't want to just, here it is. This is all you're going to get for me. Like I like the challenge. And I'm surprised that when I see some of the older guys who know all about the importance of selling tickets,
right,
kind of knocking those who are selling tickets. Like, yeah, I'm not going to, never mind. I was going to say something very mean, but I'm not going to.
Say something mean.
Half of what I say is mean.
It's just us in Rahway here.
No. I'm surprised Rip blocked me. Sad day.
It is sad.
I like a lot of Rip's tweets too.
Do you worry, is the reason that you find that stuff offensive, like, do you worry that in the long term? Because I think that is the criticism that guys like Rip and Cornette bring up, is that in the long term, this stuff hurts the credibility of the business, and while it'll get that instant reaction, people eventually will grow tired of it and then won't be able to go back to the other thing because this has exposed it so much.
Well, I feel like, I'm sure like George Hackenschmidt and freaking the kind of coming of age, turn of the century wrestlers, professional wrestlers at the time, probably looked at what somebody like Gorgeous George was doing and were offended. And then Gorgeous George probably looked at somebody like Vern Gagne, and here he is doing a headset, and he was offended. Right. I think, I don't know. I feel like, especially being so seasoned, Rip and Cornette being so seasoned, knowing the importance of selling tickets, it just surprises me. I love Cornette.
I do too. I'm a fan.
Love him, but it surprises me. Cornette has been he was one of the hottest acts ever.
Yeah.
In terms of his ability to get people to come to the building. So I'm surprised that when he doesn't like other people who do the same, but they just do it their own way.
He's got to know by now, though. I think now he's just playing it up.
Maybe.
The guys that he's criticized have become huge, like undeniable successes.
On the record, I hate Joey Ryan's wrestling.
Why are you so offended by Joey Ryan?
I've enjoyed the matches I've had with him.
Why are you offended by Joey Ryan and by intergender wrestling? Like, what is it that offends you?
Just the concept of a man touching a woman. I don't know. I'm very conservative in I don't know. I'm from the South.
Right.
So, you can't put your hands on women. Right. However, a lot of the women in these matches, they want those fights.
Hasn't Joey Ryan beaten up your wife?
He beat up my wife.
Yeah.
Beat up my wife right in front of me.
Can't you tell your wife?
Yeah.
I find this offensive. I don't want you to do stuff like that.
I'm just a big hypocrite. I'll tell you right now, I hate it. But then if somebody was like, hey, do you want to wrestle Candace? I'd be like, yeah, okay. Yeah, for sure. I'll do it. Yeah.
She's really good.
Yeah, she's really good.
Plus, we'll sell tickets.
Pick me up there's been 2 times in my career that I legit thought, what ungodly strength. One time, Brock Lesnar had jumped me and Dustin and he hit me with a chair about, hey, there's Moose. Everyone say hi to Moose. Say hi. Yeah, so Brock had picked me up and put me on his shoulders, and I've never felt helpless like that in my life. You can come in here.
There's Moose, everybody.
So I've never felt helpless like that in my life when he picked me up, and I thought, well, that's why he's Brock Lesnar. That's why I get it. In the Cow Palace, what's called the Ballsplex, Candace.
The Ballsplex
is the only other person who I felt helpless in her arms. She's got, I don't know if it's like some CrossFit level or double tendons or some sort of absurd strength level.
It's deceiving.
But threw me all the way over my head, kind of legs over. Yeah.
Is there
only 2 times that's ever happened.
Is there anything you've regretted doing in the name of selling tickets?
No, I think that's you have to find your line. You have to find your line. Where's your line? And I don't think I've dabbled too far into what my line is. I think the fans kind of determine where the line is.
Right.
And the audience per se, there are family-friendly shows. There are more, 21 and up shows. It's a wide variety of what you can do. I'm super conservative though, so I try.
So I'm glad, in terms of being conservative and crossing lines and stuff. What do you, in hindsight, and did you as a kid think of Goldust in '96? Because to me, I'm not conservative, and I thought it was even in '96. I literally was Goldust for Halloween one year. I thought it was the best wrestling character I'd ever seen in my life.
I think because I loved Dustin, I never looked at it that way. And I'd go to school and people would say some terrible things.
Right.
This is middle school when Goldust is going on. This is the worst.
Plus,
years.
'96. People were homophobic in '96.
Yes,
there wasn't this anti-bullying thing.
And then Marietta, Georgia, there was a regularly. I'd say once to twice a week at school, some sort of nasty thing said to me about the sexual nature of Goldust. But I saw all that and the androgynous behavior and the line pushing and all. But man, if you really think about it, good for Goldust.
Right.
Because if he did anything, yeah, he drew heat, but he also drew out a lot of homophobic people. Like,
that's a good point.
Yeah, like the wrestling can be whatever you want it to be. It can be for anybody, anything, any gender, any sexuality, anything. And if you're still one of those people offended that a pro wrestler is a gay, even though Dustin's not gay, is presenting himself as perhaps a gay man, well, then you don't need to be watching wrestling anymore, right. I don't think. Because wrestling goes ahead of the curve. Wrestling broke the color barrier before baseball did. I feel like whenever I hear like wrestling is racist or closed-minded, you need to be more specific. You need to say such and such is racist and closed-minded. But pro wrestling is one of the most open-ended things there ever was and ever is. Yeah,
it's a full reflection of its audience, right? Like it becomes an entire reflection of the culture.
Have I told you the Goldust story in 2017? I thought we talked about this the last time.
Did we?
Did we? Did you guys the Goldust? What happened? What would happen if he debuted in 2017? Did we talk about it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, what was it briefly?
It was I watched a sketch where a guy pretended to be Goldust in 2017, and a guy stood up in the crowd and said, "Oh, dude, I'm gay. It's cool."
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And Dustin, and then the next guy was like, "Well, you know what? Me being gay, I'm gonna get heat." And then two guys stood up and kissed, like, "No, man, go for it." And it's like, oh, yeah, no,
yeah,
good for Goldust. What balls to go that direction? And good for Goldust.
Was there any hesitation in joining the Bullet Club? Because that you now have become this guy who is definitely an individual singles marquee talent, and you are now jumping under the umbrella of a brand that is as big as any brand is outside of WWE in this industry.
Yeah, maybe a little hesitation, but not because I didn't want to be part of it. I absolutely wanted to be part of it, but I didn't want to be lesser than. Kenny Omega is probably, I'm the best professional wrestler currently. If you've watched not just the Okada match, the series of matches that he's been having, and then the Bucks, their style it is what it is, but they can do it every night. I didn't want to be lesser than. And they're being the elite, the YouTube, their level of creativity, their level of business acumen. The Bullet Club is very much elite when I look at those guys. So I just didn't want to be lesser than. So I figured, well, if I need to. It was a challenge for me.
Plus, you're theoretically going to be compared to the people before, the AJ Styles, the Finn Balor's, all these.
I hope no one compares me to AJ Styles. He's really good. Yeah, they have an elite list of folks, and I feel like with the Bullet Club, if you look at kind of the history of the Bullet Club, you'll see like there's some names that you're like, what about that guy, And then, but then there's some other names that AJ Styles is a great example, Finn Balor is a great example.
Yeah.
You wanna walk in in the same step that they did, so that's the challenge. But why go to New Japan Pro Wrestling if I'm going to go all the way to Tokyo to do these events, if I'm going to go to Osaka and be part of the G1 stuff in California? It's absolutely time and place for me to test myself. I literally told the world I was so good that I'm leaving WWE because they didn't. So this would be the time to show it.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm just a big fat liar, and like 8 out of 10 folks who leave and hit you with my favorite line of all: stay tuned for the next chapter. And then there is no next chapter.
It happens so often.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
Oh, you all want to say. Everyone wants to say it, but I want to make sure there is.
Yeah.
A next chapter.
On to bigger and better things. You better know what they are.
Jinder, though, so there's a positive.
Right.
I think Jinder hit us with a stay tuned for the next chapter, or this isn't the end. Boom.
And there
Not at all. He's the king of India, and you're going to win the title, hopefully.
Yeah.
We're all behind Jinder, right? Is everyone behind Jinder? Yeah. Good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Pat? Big time. We're all behind Jinder.
When a guy like Adam Cole leaves the Bullet Club, but more importantly leaves Ring of Honor, and at the time of this recording goes on to what we only know as.
We're not live, huh?
No,
we're live to tape.
We're not live, pal. But when he goes on to be a non-contracted employee, whatever that means, rumored to be probably showing up in NXT or WWE or whatever at some point, does that make you go like, oh, that was a fun guy to have over on our team? That's a tough one to lose.
everybody's got to do what's right for them. And he won 3 different Ring of Honor world titles. I mean, he made history for Ring of Honor. He made that his home. He provided them a really great body of work. If Adam Cole ever asked me what should I do, and I'm not saying he did, I feel like the answer is definitely go to NXT, go to WWE. I don't know if that's the decision he's made because you don't know. Like if it's your time, you got to go, and hopefully, and we're seeing more and more, especially with NXT, guys who already built their brand, they're kind of protected because they already built their brand. Roderick Strong, Samoa Joe, like they didn't have to really come in and totally prove themselves. They'd already proven themselves. They'd proven themselves to be the best. Galloway, great example. They proved themselves to be the best, and hopefully I hope that's what Adam did. Part of me though, it upsets me a little because Ring of Honor is moving in such a positive direction business-wise. And if we ever do run this building with 10,000 seats that now I have promised Dave Meltzer we're going to do.
I saw you open your big fat mouth.
Yeah, I would love Adam to have been a part of that because we're doing everything we can to find a suitable spot,
By the way, you just described Adam Cole's body of work, and I cannot hear the phrase "body of work"
without thinking of Dusty.
Without Stardust telling me about Dusty. That's the only voice I hear the phrase "body of work" in.
That interview we did was right before the Rosenberg catastrophe interview.
Well, ours ended up so well.
Of course it did.
Of course it did.
I thought the Cheap Heat one was good too.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was.
Hot dog, you out of here?
No, he's just switching sides. Was there at any point in the last year? Because I think a lot of people, and even people inside the wrestling industry, were under the assumption that you were a part of what is known as a soft release from WWE, and that there was a high likelihood of a Cody Rhodes Royal Rumble appearance. And when it didn't happen, it was like, and then it just kind of kept, the independent career just kept going. At any point in the last year, were on either side, were olive branches extended to come on back?
Zero comment. Zero comment. Nothing.
You were about to say something.
No, I got nothing. No.
It's weird because normally you're so forthcoming with your answers.
No, nothing. Sidebar. My wife did. We ordered the Royal Rumble because she wanted to see Goldberg. So that's all. I watched it.
So props to Goldberg is where you're going with that.
Props to Goldberg.
Yeah.
Props to Goldberg.
When you saw, I was, what I was watching today, because this is what I spend my free time doing. I was watching the WWE Network show Rivals. That was
great show.
Well, you're on it
Good.
as one of the talking heads, and I was watching the one about The Rock and John Cena, and you're talking about The Rock. And this is what I do in my free time. You're talking about The Rock in the context of being a Hollywood star and that reaction that you get as a wrestler, and that can't be replaced. And when you saw or heard about or whatever the Hardys coming back at WrestleMania this year, and that reaction that they received, was there any part of you that was like, oh yeah, there is something different? Maybe it's not worth everything that went through, but when once a year there's that stadium reaction, I am missing that.
So, in fairness, what do they have, like 80,000 people? And so, unbelievable reaction. Matt continuously posts this clip of so you can't miss it.
Not shy about it.
But he also got an unbelievable reaction the night before for Supercard. And sometimes, I mean, I'm not saying no one should ever tell you there's anything like WrestleMania. The only thing that comes close is Wrestle Kingdom. But WrestleMania is this whole pop culture phenomenon. I personally, especially when I see the moment, super glad for Matt because of all the work Matt did to make this, to let the whole world know about him and what he's doing. But I don't know if that's really what makes it worth it. If that makes any sense, that one, that one moment. But maybe it is. I think vindication comes in all forms, and maybe that was a bit vindicating for Matt. I hope it was because he earned it.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wouldn't know. I haven't walked out in front of 80,000 people and gone, hey, well, Sam Roberts was right, and I haven't done that.
But it's not something you've even thought about, obviously. Like, you don't actively miss it.
The more I've been away, the less I've missed it, which shocked me because I definitely thought, oh, it's going to get me. It's going to bite me. I'm going to say one night, what were you thinking? But I think because of some of the statistic things this year, like I got to make it blew me away. I broke the merch record for New Japan Pro Wrestling in the Tokyo Dome, and
I'm
not from
enormous.
Japan,
Yeah.
so it's super filled my heart. And then I've had some record crowds for some of the smaller indies that folks don't always go to, and the idea that we're going to run this 10,000 seat arena and I'm going to win my $100 bet with Dave Meltzer, like that type of stuff is more my focus now.
Because it's doing stuff you haven't done.
Yeah, and the growth rate, especially of New Japan Pro Wrestling, who's literally getting ready to run out all these United States dates, and those shows in Long Beach selling out in 10 minutes or whatever. Wrestling's good everywhere.
Yeah,
it's good everywhere, man.
Yeah, and getting a reaction in the Tokyo Dome is something that's got to be special in its own right. Because who would have thought that you would ever get that reaction in the Tokyo Dome as a quote unquote WWE?
That's my favorite thing ever. Getting back to the hotel and seeing all these shirts and like my first night, and just really touching. Really, it's hard sometimes to be a villain when all you want to do is thank you so much for making this right. Yeah. So.
Speaking of the villain, is it an exciting thing that Marty Scurll is joined your?
I got kind of like pretty boy heat with Marty.
Tell me.
Yeah, because he's like another good-looking guy and always well-dressed, and that was kind of like, I thought that was kind of my thing.
Right.
And I also think the Bucks like him more than me.
What?
They already made like a shirt with him, and we don't have a shirt together yet, so it was kind of like, good for you, Marty. Thanks, bro.
To be handsome and well-dressed, and he's got like the
Marty's,
charming accent.
Marty's the man. Marty kissed my wife at Battle of Los Angeles. Right on the lips, man.
How'd you feel about that?
We were out there, and it happened.
Well, what was more offensive, Joey Ryan beating up your wife or Marty Scurll kissing your wife?
Marty. Marty. I'm really happy for Marty. I felt bad because in Hammerstein, I was legit sweating bullets about the triple threat, and they're having all this fun in the ring with his damn umbrella, and I wasn't really part of it. And then the next time in Philly, I wasn't really part of the reception either.
Yeah.
Marty has his own Bullet Club, I think, and
He
I'm
does.
not.
You're not invited?
I'm kind of in it. Yeah,
That's not that cool.
I retweet Marty's stuff, so that's how you know I like him.
I see.
Yeah.
And he hasn't blocked you.
Not yet.
So that's how you know he likes you.
I hope.
Yeah.
I like Marty.
Are you offended by the revival? A lot of people when I posted that this was happening again, one of the top questions was like, "Hey, what do you think about the revival?"
Some guy last night at House of Hardcore stood up on his chair, and when it was relatively quiet, dropped the F the revival at me, and I just gave him like a
Gotcha.
All right. Zero comment.
Zero comment on that too?
Okay, so revival. Here's one thing. I took the Bucks side on this, and here's my logic behind it. Revival has had some absolutely bang up, amazing performances on these NXT specials.
Right.
Okay, the Bucks have these bang up, unbelievable performances almost every night. When you're in developmental, and this is not a knock on NXT, it's developmental because you don't get a check for live events and you're not on the road. That is why it's development. It doesn't mean it's less than. NXT is obviously incredibly, incredibly hot. It's super, super cool, and they do great things there. But when you have a month straight, knowing of your match, and you're in a wrestling school, for a month straight every day, that better be the best match anyone's ever seen. Whereas the Bucks show up with 2 hours and throw together the best match they've ever seen. All it does for me is just makes me want to see the guys wrestle. That I want to see. And that's the test. That's the difference when people are like, don't call NXT developmental. The difference is doing it every single night.
Right.
Not being in a wrestling school, doing it every single night. That is the difference. That's why it's called developmental. It doesn't mean Samoa Joe, who was not in NXT anymore, or Bobby Roode are developmental talent. Those guys are stars. But the difference is being on the road. That's the difference, which they've all been, but that's why it's developmental, and one is called the main roster.
So it's
going to be a very controversial answer. I like NXT, as far as I know. But that's why when people are like, "Oh, the Revival is better than the Bucks," or "The Bucks are better than the Revival," I think the Bucks are hands down the best tag team in the world because they can do it with anybody.
But that's what it all comes down to. It's just you supporting your young Bucks.
You and Hot Dog could go out there now, and the Bucks could come out, and they would lead you to I hate to say it, but like a 5-star performance. You know?
Well, like who's to say that I couldn't do it?
I'm pretty sure the Revival would just beat you half to death, and not So that's my love for the Bucks is they can do it like that. Whereas a lot you hear about some of these NXT matchups. Well, they should be the best match you've ever seen. They've had a month to go over it.
Right, I see.
What
is your viewpoint on your role in TNA, and how much are you invested in that? Is that something where you're going out there and just like, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility for my performance, and that's it? Or do you go like, guys, like we obviously, because TNA has a lot of potential, right?
Yeah.
And they have a lot of guys.
Mario is on Impact now.
Right.
Freaking Mario, man. Good for Mario.
But
Creative Pro alumni.
Yes.
Wrestle Pro superstar. I love Mario.
Kevin Matthews is on there too.
I'm more of a Mario
You're
guy.
more of a Mario Boccara guy. Okay.
I like Kevin Matthews.
But there are a lot of guys, and even the Hardys thing, where like the Hardys are obviously this force in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And I would think that a wrestling company would do literally, and I'm an outsider, but I would think that a wrestling company would do literally everything in their power to keep that thing that is so hot under their roof. Right? Logically?
It depends. I mean, I think Jeff maybe has a different vision for Impact overall, or maybe Matt and Jeff's visions just didn't coincide. I really like
You're talking about Jeff Jarrett.
Yes, I really like Jeff Jarrett. I really want to wrestle Jeff Jarrett. I don't know if I've made that clear to him every time I speak, but I'm a big fan of Jeff Jarrett. When it comes to Impact, I usually stick to myself as far as I just try to bring what I do everywhere just to the Impact scene.
Gotcha.
It is hard to get on board with this time this reboot's better than the last reboot. When I met Dixie Carter, I loved Dixie Carter. When I met Billy, I loved Billy. When I met Jeff, I love Jeff. But it's only so many times you can hear now we're marching on everybody.
Right.
So I just it's a fun show. It's on Pop TV, and I just try to be a part of that.
Right.
I currently have no more dates left
with TNA.
With TNA Impact Wrestling. I currently have no more dates left. But there's only one person at Impact I don't like.
Who?
Bernie, who operates the gate.
Why don't you like Bernie? Seems like a good guy.
I told Sanjay Dutt in just the longest text message of all time how much I almost didn't do an Impact taping because of Bernie at the gate. Does anyone know about Bernie at the gate?
Do you guys know?
I think other people really don't like. She doesn't work for Impact. She works for Universal.
Bernie is a woman?
Bernie is a woman. And
okay.
And she insists that not only at the gate did they tell you can't drive on, which we know opposite because we do have to go do the show. She then insists that you go through a thorough security check. I understand the safety precautions of NBC Universal, but Bernie is the woman. If I never appear on Impact again, it's Bernie's fault.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Getting out of the car, getting patted down, all your bags getting checked through. How dangerous is an American flag jacket?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Bernie. Now you guys know some Bernie.
Bernie.
Doesn't even work for Impact. Hates me. That's the other thing. Everybody else drives by.
Uh-huh.
But
you get
everybody
stopped.
else drives by, and like me and Brandy are out there with all our bags, and like, well, they need to take the shuttle. Like, well, you gave us these passes.
Maybe Bernie's just trying to get a piece, and she's jealous that you're there with your wife. Well,
I've seen Bernie giving me some looks. Maybe.
I think that's what it is.
Maybe.
Or she's just tired of she's just trying to man the parking lot.
Everybody else
going on podcasts and talking shit about her.
Everybody else I worked with at Impact, Dutch, Jeff, Karen, Bob, everybody, I really enjoyed. I think they all have something really valuable to offer any talent if you'll listen, and I enjoyed them.
What brand do you think has more growth potential, Impact or Ring of Honor?
Why would you ask?
That's a good question. Isn't that a great question? People want to know. I mean, I could guess what your answer would be.
Yeah, why don't you guess?
I would think that based on the fact that you specifically said, Ring of Honor has growth potential. I can't wait to see them grow, and Impact is full of nice people. then it would be pretty clear that Ring of Honor is the company that's growing and Impact is the company that is a fun show, as you described it. That is what I would infer from this interview, but who am I to put words in?
To be fair, the partnership between Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling also makes that kind of an easy answer. ROH always has grown, just in the time I've been there, but in the few years preceding me coming, has grown at the absolute right level. They've never tried to be bigger, but at this point now, with exclusivity deals with the Young Bucks and the in-house talent that Ring of Honor has, not bringing people in random on the flyby, I would say, and to be fair, Ring of Honor has the better chance.
If you could,
I mean, they're currently, I think, doing it. They're very to see what Ring of Honor does. I'm always marvel at how their shows are done and just the experience that they give fans. I love it from bottom to top. I love what Ring of Honor does.
If you could give one element of improvement to Ring of Honor, what do you think Ring of Honor needs? Because I don't think it's talent. Like, I don't think there's a name that if you put in Ring of Honor it would do better. Because anybody that goes to those live shows,
take the risk. That's what I think, and that's
what is the risk?
That's what they've heard from me. Take the risk.
The Meltzer risk.
Yeah,
run a
10,000 seat arena.
Yeah.
All these the Sinclair Broadcasting is so good about the TV is everywhere, but the TV needs to be uniform everywhere. Take the risk. More international. Roll the dice. Mm-hmm. If it don't work, blame me and the Bucks. But I don't think I think people are ready to see Ring of Honor in a more prominent light. Because sometimes you're just like, oh, he's at Ring of Honor, he's really good, but you haven't watched Ring of Honor TV. Or
exactly.
I think their pay-per-view, that last pay-per-view, War of the World, stands for itself. WWE being more of the entertainment side of sports entertainment, and Ring of Honor being kind of more of the sports side of sports entertainment. There's no reason why WWE, and I'm not trying to knock because I see you getting hot.
I'm not getting hot.
There's no reason that Ring of Honor shouldn't be able to compete with anybody. That's New Japan Pro Wrestling, who they're partners with, but they should be talked about in a very, very high light. I just want them to take the risk.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't pay for the 10,000 seat the venue totally by myself.
No,
so I need
Do we
need
know
some
what
of their
venue
money.
it's going to be?
No.
Do we know what city it's going to be in?
In the Midwest.
Oh,
yeah, in the Midwest. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, Cody.
This is really hypothetical. So like.
Well, I know. I just started on Twitter like a few days ago.
Yeah, this is hypothetical. And it's over $100 bet.
Yeah.
So
which is like.
Some of these buildings have $150,000 rent. And this is over $100 bet.
I can't wait to see the people who have to incur the cost of that for Ring of Honor, because if it doesn't work, you'll be going like, I owe Meltzer $100, and they're like, we just put all of our money down on this building.
Yeah, I won't. If it doesn't go well, I won't sell it too hard, just because I'll just get out real quick, you know.
And if it does, if this thing works out with 10,000 seats, I would.
If it works out, we're gonna get our own plane. We're gonna do We're gonna do everything that Jim Crockett Promotions did, and we'll end up doing the exact same thing.
Well, I'm sure talk to you for hours, but you're here at work. You've got things to do. You've got autographs to sign and people to wrestle.
It's 5:26.
That's right. So it's about.
My wife sent me a text. Let's see what she said.
What did she say?
I have to read it.
Well, I'd like to find out.
I don't know what to eat before getting on the road. There you go.
What is the answer? Nutrition tips.
I would say since you're going to be on the road, it's mainly snacks, even like your protein and stuff that you pick up. So probably something substantial you'd want to eat.
Right.
You know.
But that's not something substantial is maybe the worst response you could give because it's totally non-specific.
Look at some of these texts. These are some weird texts.
Let me see if I can.
Claudio is asking me Zelda ending ? He wants to know how I felt about the narrative
of the end of
Zelda.
Is that for Switch?
Unfulfilled. Did you guys did anyone beat Breath of the
Anyone
Wild?
beat the new Zelda? No.
It's a bit unfulfilling. The game's amazing. The ending is a bit unfulfilling because it's like post-apocalyptic. So here, Zelda and Link are good. Everyone else is dead.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And last but not least, let's see if I can show you. Look at this family photo.
Look at that. See, I was hoping to find.
You guys need to tell Pat at Wrestle Pro to book Pharaoh, my dog. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
What would you book the dog to?
He makes appearances. He gets in the ring. He'll too sweet you. If you go to too sweet him, he pats your hand and everything.
It's like, is that like when Teddy Hart used to walk around with his cat and throw it in the air?
Now I don't want to book him anymore. Now I don't want to book him anymore. Now I don't want to book him.
Hey, before I let you go.
Sorry, Pharaoh.
Before I let you go, this is. the Bullet Club, to me, is very much in the culture of what you were once and might still be very against, which is that sort of backstage wrestling terminology being used.
Meta-level wrestling.
Meta-level wrestling is the Bullet Club to a T, right down to those 2 suites. Like, that's what, to me, it's about. It's this
kind of, yeah,
thing that we know about that other people don't know about because they're not in the inner circle.
Right.
Which is the language that you hate when fans use that sort of inner circle. Even though on Twitter you said you were going to bury me.
Barry is. Oh, I guess it is.
You did say.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that?
I think everybody's different. I think the Bucks are really at that meta level. The humor, what they do in the ring, that's their thing. And I think that's the cool thing about the Bullet Club. Everybody very different.
Right.
The being the elites are kind of more on that insider skew, but everyone being very different. Kenny being so different, Marty being so different, myself, Tama. I mean, like everybody so different. So I just try to be exactly how I am, my weird conservative views, but just I pair up with, that's how I want the best of it all.
Right.
One way doesn't always work. So when I wrestle with the Bucks, I try to do a little bit of the Bucks. And when I'm in there by myself, I try to remember kind of what my fundamentals and foundation is. I think that was what makes the group cool.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the basic ending question is, what do you want to do going forward? What do you see? Because we knew before, we had a list. We could check it off with you. The names are checked. Like what?
Roderick Strong didn't get checked.
Well, it doesn't look like that's happening anytime
Nope.
soon. But especially after that big no comment we got
I don't know.
earlier on a certain
Maybe talk to
question.
your boy. Maybe talk to your boy.
I know Roderick Strong.
Yeah.
But what are there goals? Are there things that we want to do going
I
forward?
thought about making a new list.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't want it to, like, the first list was really good. And the second list would be there's more than just opponents. Like, obviously, we've talked about it a bunch, the 10,000-seat arena.
Right.
That would be on there.
Winning $100 from Meltzer.
That's a big part of it.
That's a big.
Yeah, no, like, maybe I'll make a new list.
There's a finality about the list, though. I kind of like the idea of you not having a list because the list was like, okay.
Well, it's fine, Sam. I won't make a list.
Don't make a list.
Yeah,
the list was like, I'm out of WWE.
Yes.
So in this time, in this time frame that I'm wrestling on the independents, because you didn't know what you were going to do.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do. Now it would appear that you're just wrestling indefinitely around the world. So why would you have a list? Right?
Yeah. That's a good point. You
Thank
kind of
you.
shut the whole new list down.
It's
so
stupid.
to answer your question about what I'm doing next, I guess I don't know. It's indefinite.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that great that I say, like, what are you doing next? And you're like, well, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
I got a lot of shows. Yeah. I think we're gonna find kind of a new groove this year, and I think a lot of people are kind of aware of what's going on and where the direction things might be heading.
Well, what is it? What if other people aren't aware?
I think a lot of people are aware of it.
What is it?
So,
what do you guys think it is? What am I?
You mentioned the New Japan.
Oh, the New
US
Japan
title?
US Championship.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that, and then we'll see where it goes.
Look at you.
It would take a lot of money to put me on an exclusive thing, not because I want the money, because
You don't want to be exclusive.
I don't want to be exclusive. However, you never know.
Because money's awesome.
It's Brandy's anyways, so No, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Now I'm in deep thought about what to do next.
You gonna
kind of ended on a somber note.
Are you gonna have kids?
I don't know. We currently are not having kids.
Because if that's a thing,
I don't think I'd be a good dad.
Really?
No.
You got all these things like you are so
Well,
set in your opinion.
Well, what if like my kid like didn't like Star Wars or something like that? Like that would be like a huge like.
You'd have to teach him.
Yeah, you can't force your ways though. Like
really?
Yeah, I don't know. I worry about things like that.
We just had a kid, and the idea that he wouldn't like wrestling.
Did you make this
concept.
all so that I would say congratulations?
I didn't even think you would.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, on that note, Cody Rhodes, everybody.
Thank you guys.
Thank
very
you,
much.
Cody.
Thank you very much.
You're the
Thank
best.
you.